gentlemen, boys and girls, Buckeye fans of all ages, the Ohio Podcast brings to you a special pre-recorded Buckeye Lounge. I am your host, the Shrock Star Shaun Shrock. Of course, always my partner in crime, my co-host, the Wolverine Slayer herself, TG. And tonight we have a very special guest, Intrinsic, the man, the myth, the legend on X, making Michigan people cry all day long, which I love. You've seen him and Spiro. Both of those guys are always, every day on X, just making the Michigan fans go crazy. And if that does it, if you make Michigan people go crazy, we love it too, because, we hate them just as bad as you guys do. So, welcome to the show, Intrinsic.
Hey y'all, so first thing I want to say, I am not Justin Spiro.
We know.
So I just want to put that out there because I've been called Justin Spiro many times. I'm not his burner. So uh, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I feel like we're getting close. What do you guys think?
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're writing the days, right? That they said they lay down the pattern, so the penalty. So I think we're close.
Yeah, we're within I think it's 43 days now. I've
Is
been
it
doing a
43?
little countdown for these guys, but Tony Petitti, I think when he did this to Ohio State, it was 11 days after the hammer dropped on you guys, way back when.
Well, he wasn't the commissioner then, so
I
You
mean,
mean
yeah,
the
not Petitti, whoever the commissioner was,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah?
You
He
know,
also stood up for the Jerry Sandusky scandal.
Well, I posted it. I posted it. It's standard procedure.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
know what you're
posted
talking about.
that. Yeah, I posted that, and then Spiro, he got all the receipts on these guys, which he's basically, I would say, the best researcher in all of this.
Isn't
So
So
are
it
you? You
amazing?
know.
I have a lot of help. People don't get that. A
You,
lot of what
you
I
know, I
do is because I have help.
I get drilled all the time. People fans take shots at me all the time because I'll repost your stuff and I repost Sparrow stuff because you guys have excellent stuff on X. Guys, if you haven't followed Intrinsic, you got to. If you love Spiro, you're gonna love Intrinsic. Like you said, you're not Spiro, but man, you're right down that path like he is, man. And you're both great researchers. You both come out with, you guys have been spot on the whole time. So
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. Like Sean, you talk about how much they're going after you. You know, they podcasters be making
oh,
shows about me now.
oh.
I've been making them so mad they be making shows now. It'd be funny.
Yeah, we need you on XTG. I told Sean that. I said, why is
Yeah.
she not on X? Like, she'd be perfect for X. But yeah, anyways, um,
I'm starting off slow on social media. I have not been on social media. This is like I'm starting off on Facebook. Eventually, I'm gonna get to X, but just not right now.
yeah, yeah, I'm not huge on social media either. But I will say I think X is the spot where like a lot of this breaks, and probably yeah, the forums too are pretty good on this. But yeah, I've been covering this since the beginning, and just kind of over time, uh, you just kind of start putting patterns together with a lot of this stuff. But I think now what's important is obviously the debate is what the sanctions are going to be. And so that is what I've honed in on, I'd say the last couple weeks as far as nailing down what exactly has the evidence to this point been telling us about what the sanctions will be. And it's looking like a 1 to 3 year postseason ban. Now, to get there, you have to understand the core penalties for a level one aggravated failure to monitor. Because if it's not aggravated, the core penalties for that would be 0 to 1 year postseason ban.
Yeah,
So,
I got to ask you one quick question, Intrinsic.
yeah.
Will they give them the failure to monitor, or will they give them failure to control? Because I know they're basically kind of the same thing, but
Yeah.
I've heard some people say that it's not failure to monitor, it's failure to control. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so this is not a lack of institutional control case, and we don't want it to be.
Okay.
A lot of people get angry when they hear it's not lack of institutional control. And understand, lack of institutional control is a systemic failure that clearly rests at the feet of the chancellor or university president. And in this case, obviously there's circumstantial evidence, and a lot of us suspect that they were turning a blind eye to what was going on. But for the NCAA to prove that, it would just be a weak case. And the reason it would be a weak case is Santa Ono. I don't think they have any evidence on Santa Ono. I haven't seen any reports of any evidence on Ward Manuel. Uh, it doesn't even look like they were able to connect Harbaugh to knowledge of it. Now they don't have to do that, but when you're looking at a lack of institutional control, you're looking at the compliance standards for the university failing, and generally it's across multiple sports. And if it's on a singular sport, you would need the president or chancellor's involvement. But here's the thing: if they were to get a level one aggravated lack of institutional control, the core penalties are exactly the same as a level one aggravated failure to monitor. They are exactly the same. So people who I mean, lack of institutional control, people want to hear that. It sounds great,
Mm,
but the nerdy lawyer stuff on this, you want them to have the most solid case on the failure to monitor, and you want it to be aggravated. Because if this is not aggravated, then this is not a hammer. It's just that simple.
That's true. And I think it is aggravated because from what I've seen, they have like what, 6 level 1 violations, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and that is one of the so there's aggravating factors and mitigating factors. And you can mitigate a case through exemplary cooperation. Um, so basically, if you looked at the articles leading up into the COI, all of a sudden you start hearing things like aggravating factors and mitigating factors. But what you really need to do is look back to Ross Dellinger's article where he leaked part of the response NOA. In that
Mm-hmm.
response NOA, it clearly states that it's Michigan talking to the NCAA. They said the NCAA is exaggerating aggravated factors while ignoring mitigated factors. And that's Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports. So that tells you right there that the NCAA was asking for a postseason ban. Do you guys understand that?
yes.
Yep. Oh, that was
And
clear from the get go.
so that's what gets me about all this is why are they lying? Why exactly are they lying? Because a lot of this is buried through legal stuff, and when they tell you they're exaggerating the aggravating factors while ignoring mitigating, that right there is a postseason ban. And it's not up to interpretation by the NCAA. Like or the right now the COI. They have to look at the charges, they weigh whether it's aggravated or not. I'm just in simple terms. I can go into more details if you want. But if they determine that level one failure to monitor is aggravated, it is a postseason ban. It's not just on the table, they will implement it. And it will be between 1 to 3 years. So it's just that simple.
If
And
I'm not
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. No, go
No, go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry. I was about to say that. Isn't what you said one of the factors to mitigating was, cooperating with the NCAA and like fully cooperation. Isn't one of the reasons why the NCAA looks at this as aggravated is because Michigan failed to cooperate the entire time? Like they never really tried to.
Okay, so you don't really get a whole bunch of credit on the mitigating factors for cooperating because you have to understand the responsibility is to cooperate. It's not like we're gonna, hey, thank you for cooperating. Like because I believe at some point Michigan did start cooperating. Like they did start
Towards the
handing stuff
end.
over. Yeah, not on the outset, but they eventually did, right? So when I'm looking at this, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, if you look at the mitigating factors, it's prompt self-disclosure of violations. So when you have a compliance department, they are supposed to find these things on their own, right? It shouldn't take the NCAA or a whistleblower or a third party to say that violations occurred. And that happened also in the recruiting case before, is that you had a breakdown of compliance systems within inside the institution, because the institution should be catching these penalties, right? And so that's why um, when you look at the mitigating, so we have other mitigating factors. So it's prompt acknowledgement and acceptance. Okay, did they accept any of this? They said bet. They wanted to extend Harbaugh. That's another thing, that it's not just, oh, well, that sounds bad. No, this guy is likely to get at least a 10-year show cause on top of this, and it could be up to lifetime. But they wanted to extend the person that I believe now Michigan is trying to blame. You've seen in Trevor McHugh's piece that came out yesterday. He's calling it Harbaugh's monitoring problems, right? And so it's very clear if you look at the case, and a lot of this stuff actually has just came up because last year they negotiated the resolution in April. And so I went back and looked at that case. That's a level 1 mitigated on a failure to monitor on the institution. Okay. So the institutional penalties are where the hammer is. So that's why you're trying to see a distancing of the institution from the actions of Harbaugh, Stallion. I mean, there's more people that you can name that wasn't involved than. I mean, sorry, I'm saying that the opposite. There's so many people involved in this case that nobody was monitoring, and that's the institutional's responsibility. That's the institution's responsibility to monitor these guys. So yeah, so I went through the mitigating factors, and basically they get credit for C and H. I don't think you guys have the ability to pull it up, but they have like half credit on two mitigators. And that is that they self-impose meaningful corrective measures and penalties. That is why they did the self-imposed suspension of more. But understand they did that days to weeks right before the COI. That
Mhm.
wasn't prompt, right? That was done towards the end, and that that's them admitting that Moore committed a standard level 2 violation. And I think we're looking at Moore's being aggravated, just given that he was a part of that dead period case. And if Moore's comes out as aggravated, the core penalty criteria for him is the equivalent to a 4 to 6 game suspension and a 2 to 5 year show cause that he can coach on. Now, but anyway, so yeah, the other one was securing the meaningful cooperation of an individual. I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into these details. I get into these details on X because I believe right now a lot of this is important, that this is aggravated. Because
Yeah.
that's if they determine this case isn't aggravated, then the Michigan B is right. It's in some sense. Obviously the spin and whatnot, but I don't see that as a hammer if they don't get a postseason ban. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
It has
I
to be a
mean,
postseason ban.
postseason ban, strip of their national title, strip of their Big Ten title, strip of all 3 seasons. Like, to me, that's the hammer.
Okay.
And I'm actually looking at some articles right now because when you talked about them giving up more for suspension, they only suspended him for 2 games, and for the NCAA, that's not enough. Is and the 2 games they chose were soft games that they know they should win or they could win without him coaching, but it's some that really to the NCAA was like that's not serviceable at all to them. The 2 games they chose, that's not serviceable enough. On top of the fact that when they started to cooperate, it was towards the end when negotiations were actually at the point where it wasn't going to be able to be negotiable at that point either, is what I'm reading.
Okay, so yeah, I think so. You're right. So part of what they should have done was the initial notice of allegations. So that when a notice of allegations is served, that means the NCAA went through all the efforts that it feels that it could have done to investigate the case, and then they give you the NOA, right? So that was in August of last year. That is when Michigan was presented with all the evidence, including the 52 deleted texts of Coach Moore, and that's when Michigan should have looked at that and self-imposed a suspension last year. That's how this is normally done. Um, Michigan waited up until the last minute, like I said, days before or days or maybe a week or two before the hearing to do it. That the COA is not stupid. They're going to see that. They're
Yeah.
gonna consider it, but it's not going to be a great mitigator for them. And so part of the thing is when we talk about cooperating, it's the responsibility to cooperating. It's just a responsibility to cooperate. It is the standard. Everybody is supposed to be cooperating. When someone like even Stallions gets hired, he takes tests that he understands that's his it's responsibility, and the NCAA assumes that everybody that is working at these schools is cooperating. And it's not just that. The institution then puts a compliance department in that, for instance, your cell phone usage is monitored, your vehicles are monitored. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the institution's supposed to do to catch violations and promptly self-report them. And that's how it's done for like every school but Michigan. And the ones that it's not done for, it's very rare to get to where we're at. But regardless, yeah. So I see, and so when we talk about a mitigating factor, cooperating being a mitigating factor, it's clear in their bylaw that they have to secure meaningful cooperation of an individual who does not have an affirmative obligation to cooperate under under the responsibility to cooperate. So a lot of these people are already considered like they have to cooperate. And for instance, they couldn't get Harbaugh to cooperate. They couldn't get he was supposed to show up to that COI. And I posted about that. He got another violation for not showing up to that, but not that it matters at this point. But so yeah, they have like two mitigators, and the aggravators, it just literally sounds like Michigan. So So the aggravating factors, right? Multiple level 1 and level 2 violations for which the institution is responsible, because I'm talking about aggravating factors for institutions. Lack of institutional control, they're not going to get that one, just from the definition. Uh, Failing or refusing to take all appropriate steps outlined by the responsibility to cooperate. Violations were premeditated, deliberate, and committed after substantial planning. Okay. Persons of authority condone participated. So as you read through these, and I've listed this on X, they hit all but two aggravating factors. And that's going to be argued by the NCAA. And I think that's why you've finally seen reports coming out about a postseason ban. Because I mean, not everyone is into this as much as you guys are, the Spiro is, all these guys, right? Um,
Yeah.
but the one big thing uh, is that the amended NOA. And did you guys read my post on that?
I did not get a chance to.
I haven't gotten
Uh,
a chance to either. What
okay,
did your post say?
okay. So as I mentioned, when the NOA is released, that means that they interviewed all witnesses, they got all the evidence that they possibly could from the school, and the school at this point is working with the investigators to make sure they get all the evidence, to make sure that everyone gets interviewed, because that's the standard. So at that point, when they release the notice of allegations, it's all done. Both sides kind of see all the evidence, but then what happened is in November, so this is 3 months after, this is November last year, the NOA was amended for a member institution, which means it was amended for the level 1 failure to monitor penalty on Michigan. And I cannot go understated how important that is. I could try to help explain it. I put it in an X post, but basically, what that means is somebody came forward.
Mm.
Somebody,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that wasn't a part of their investigation. And it's not just that somebody came forward, it's that this was deemed by material evidence, and Michigan fought it. They fought it. They did not want whatever that evidence was to be admitted into this allegations. So why that's important is because we're looking at a failure to monitor charge. And part of monitoring is making sure that you're cooperating, that you're getting all the information done, and that you're basically telling the NCAA that moving forward, our compliance department is going to be catching violations, promptly self-reporting them. We're going to be following the rules essentially. And all of a sudden, after they're doing this and selling this line to the NCAA, all of a sudden new evidence comes forward that they didn't find, that someone else did. Now, I don't know what that is. I have a couple of theories on what that is, but I know it's extremely important because it just bolsters that level one charge, right? It bolsters that institutional charge. That is where the hammer's at in this situation. So,
You know,
so unless I'm, go ahead.
you look at, Ohio State has a compliance department, and you see them all the time. I mean, in the past, we've seen them, write people up for stupid stuff and they turn it in. But is Michigan gonna? Does NCAA look at them like, hey, you have a compliance department, but it's a joke. It's kind of there just for show. Kind
And
of.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not them, but if you just follow the facts and evidence, and you look at the negotiated resolution for the uh, dead period case,
Mm-hmm.
Harbaugh admitted he should have paid more attention to compliance. He wasn't really doing it. And the director of compliance, who's a lady, she said, "Yeah, I was stretched thin. I could have done a better job." And that's why they got the level one on an institution because their compliance department failed. And so understand, as soon as you're a compliance department and Harbaugh says, yeah, I'm not really caring too much about a lot of this stuff. I don't really keep an eye on it. And your compliance director says, yeah, I'm stretched thin. I'm having trouble with all this. They should have been under a microscope. Michigan should have. Their compliance department should have been like
What
the
do you guys
cleanest
want?
compliance department in the entire country at that point because they know they have a problem. They admitted they have a problem in the negotiated resolution. So they should have been looking for stuff. So why didn't they catch Stallions? Why didn't they catch Klinkstale and Minter on their negotiated resolutions? Why didn't they catch um
Partridge.
the Partridge? Yeah. And it so that is why the NCAA is going, they have them nailed. And it has a little Stallions broke the case open, but it just has to do with the institution repeatedly failing to monitor their program, which is expected. And yet, I believe Ohio State went through this where they kept running into compliance problems, and that's why a lot of the reason they got in trouble. And from my understanding, Ohio State, now I'm not an Ohio State fan, but from my understanding, they're overly cautious with a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And
Yeah.
most
Mm-hmm.
schools are.
Oh
Most
yeah.
schools are, because schools are getting absolutely hammered when they mess up right now. I mean, that's very clear. Wisconsin, what, they didn't have anything happen for basically this century, and they got show causes, and they fully cooperated. They discovered it
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They reached the resolution. Michigan did none of these things. They did
Nope.
absolutely none of them. And so yeah, so I mean, a lot of this stuff is nerdy. I hope I don't bore you guys with it too
Heck
much.
no. No, we
No.
love it,
No.
man. We love it.
Love
Keep
it.
going.
Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, so the main thing I think when you're trying to build confidence, like if you're approaching this, everybody has predictions, right? Everybody's making predictions. Uh, it's just like there is direct language in the bylaws that says what should happen. It says, and the COI, as much as you care, as much as I care, they're just going to play this by the book. And it's going to upset some people and it's going to make some people happy. It's definitely a lot of people who are covering it, who are invested from the Ohio State side, from the Tennessee side, from the Michigan State side. A lot of
From
us
all
are
across
close.
college football, actually, all across college football, everybody's invested because they're so sick of this.
Yeah, I
Everybody in
mean,
the SEC, everybody in the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, like it was shocking.
yeah, and a lot of the reason is, I mean, when you're talking about 18 to 22-year-old kids and you're cheating against them,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
other coaches, like sure, other coaches understand that we're going to do whatever we can to win. That's within inside the rules, right? That's within inside the rules. And the main thing is they look down on what Harbaugh did because he basically has been cheating for over 4 years now. I mean, if you really look at it, and that's not even to get into some of this stuff. Like if you want to get into Partridge, he coached at Paramus Catholic, and he was. I mean, I don't know what language I can use on here,
That's
but
family friendly.
Family
family
friendly.
friendly. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
he was selling himself, uh, attaching two players. I think it was Rashawn Gary and Jabril Peppers. He was he was selling himself basically, hey, hire me, and everyone was looking at that like that's kind of shady to do, to pawn off a couple players who go to high school with you. Like if you could bring me in as a coach, then I'll bring these players in. And the only person willing to do that was Harbaugh. Um, and of course later we find out he gets fired, and I believe it was Partridge who was the one who told a player basically not to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It which is so that's beyond that. And I also believe Stallions, he was hired to do this, right?
Yes.
And so the Michigan fans will say, well, sign stealing is legal. Yes, sign stealing is legal.
Yes.
Recording sidelines is not.
Yeah.
No, and
Exactly.
everybody knows it. Nobody else does it. Literally nobody. And it does provide a competitive advantage. And it's just
Well,
why.
Especially, I mean, especially because no one does it on an advance notice because it's completely against the rules, and not everybody has the means to do it. So there's a reason why it's been banned from ever being done.
It
And
was it was upheld in 21 too. It was upheld in
mm-hmm.
21 and voted on. So it's
Yep.
very relevant. Um
Yes.
but it's kind of funny because they're actually as much as on-field cheating is just, it goes against everything that we care about sports and love. We want to see
Yeah.
two teams duke it out, best team wins. And clearly that's not what we were seeing with this 21 to 23 tainted title run from Michigan.
Absolutely
Ah,
not.
but they're going to get nailed for just being,
Idiots.
for not monitoring, essentially, is what they're going to get nailed for, which is not monitoring. And so, yeah, it's just, and
Yeah.
so part of the thing that really gets me is why has, so here's another interesting thing, right? When I went over the NOA being amended, so Pete Thamel, I think I used to say, and Paul Feinbaum or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Pete
they
Thamel.
s- Pete Thamel, okay, there we go,
Yeah.
Thamel. So
Okay.
they all were saying the penalties were going to be light after they seen the initial
The,
draft NOA.
mm-hmm.
You guys familiar with that?
Yep. And
And
we were, and it's because Michigan leaked it to him.
yeah, of course, Michigan's been the only ones leaking, which is funny because Trevor McHugh says the NCAA has been leaking everything. And I posted on X, here's Chris Balas admitting that the last leak came from them, right?
I mean,
So anyway,
Cam Webb was also saying the same thing. They're all the NCAA is leaking it. They're trying to make us look bad.
They don't
Yeah.
leak nothing. They don't leak it unless they have a reason to. And trust me, they would never leak it like that.
they have played this by the book. And the funniest part about it is when they wrote that negotiated resolution for, it happened in 2024. So this stallion stuff they already knew about at that time. They set up that 2024 case to run right into this one. I think they really did. I think they are completely set up here to get what is the worst penalty. I mean, you hear Josh Pate talk about it. A postseason ban he's saying, I can't believe a postseason ban would happen in today's football because of the outcomes that happen thereafter. If it's a 2-year postseason ban, there's an argument that's a 4 to 5 year penalty. I don't
But
think Moore survives it, for one.
No,
no,
does he
And
even
so,
coach this year? You know, I mean, does he even last this year? I mean, some
right.
people are talking he might not even coach at all. He might be fired. So
Yeah, I think he's gonna get fired. And to kind of also persevere, I was looking over the mitigated versus the aggravated penalties too,
yeah.
and apparently it does like the with the mitigated penalties. It depends on your cooperation, how much evidence you turn over, how your compliance department does as well. Like when you look at the teams that have been punished, like Arizona State, Kentucky, Oklahoma State, and there was like another team as well that got punished
Tennessee.
pretty harshly. Yeah, Tennessee's one, but it's not the ones I'm thinking of the most recently. But it's like some of the ones I know for a fact that have been like the domino effect, the cars that we're seeing, like Michigan's gonna get slammed because it's like the NCAA is handling everything in house. But from everything I understand about their mitigated penalties is yes, while these penalties look harsh, it won't affect them long term. Like the mitigated penalties are like designed to help, will punish them, but it won't affect them long term. Versus the aggravated penalties, which look like it's meant to affect you long term in a pretty bad way. And it's all based on how you cooperate for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part. Because if you're just turning around giving the NCAA the double bird and then you're leaking stuff, and then on top of that, you're just testing them at that point, and you go all the way to a trial, and you still not cooperative whatsoever, like your compliance department is a joke, not even monitoring the situation. You are allowing coaches to destroy evidence. You are continuously allowing this to happen, and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, I can see a world where Michigan does get hit pretty heavy because of how they've been acting this entire time, because they weren't cooperative. You never really handed over evidence until the final time, and you're talking about what we tried to give Sharon Moore, suspension, even though even though it's not good enough for the NCAA. Like if you were going to suspend him, it should have been for at least more than 2 games, especially the two you handpicked. Like that's just no. So you basically just gave yourself aggravated just based off how you behave in this entire thing.
Yeah, see, I don't think that NCAA takes it as personally is like we do. I mean, I agree with everything you just said there. But I mean, but they should have done the suspension last year, as I mentioned earlier, and they're supposed to self-report these penalties. So basically, when this whole scandal broke out, what would be the standard, and what basically every other member institution would do is they would go ahead and they would seize all the evidence. They would go ahead and figure out what is going on, how bad is this, we need to report this all immediately, and then take presumptive actions. And so, like in Tennessee's case, where they had the 21 level ones, they set the standard for exemplary cooperation because they went ahead, hired a third party to come in, seize all evidence. They fired everybody, including everyone that did know, and they fired everybody that should have known. Imagine what that would have looked like for Michigan. They would have, think about that.
Nobody be there.
Nobody
Yeah.
be there.
And so they did all that and they still got a standard. So understand, they did all that. They didn't have any they didn't have another case right in front of this that made them eligible to be a repeat violator, right? Um but and they still got a standard level 1 on the institution. It was a failure to monitor, if I remember correct. So I do not see how this isn't aggravated. I mean, and so they also have basically an exempt. So what Tennessee did, it actually changed the bylaws in the updated handbook, and the two major reasons Michigan's going to get it, not get exemplary cooperation, um, is that they didn't self-report, and they haven't made any meaningful self-imposed penalties that show that they're accountable for what happened. And so this is going to be a lot of the legal stuff that is the COI sees. They're not going to be like, man, Santa Ono said bat, how ridiculous that is. They might think that in private. I bet a lot of them think it in
Hmm.
private,
Oh,
but these
I'm
are
not
like
saying like
Ivy
as if
League.
they're gonna. I'm not saying like they're gonna just publicly take it like personally out in public. I do think there's a part of them that feels some kind of way about it because it's like you disrespected us badly. But I think they're also gonna take it with professionalism and more so focus on the
Mm.
penalties more so than just what happened. Even though they were not happy with how USC did them back in '04, but they still handled it with professionalism.
Yeah, and what they're gonna say is, what do we have to do to get this program uh in compliance moving forward? What do we have to do? We tried doing this in the first one, and it actually got worse in the second case. Somehow, after they got their first level one, it got worse. So, what do we have to do? I think you're going to be looking at enhanced probation. I think they're going to poison pill some coaches. Poison pill is the term for institutional. Basically, it's like an institutional show cause on an individual. So they can attach show cause. They can attach institutional show causes on the coach, and they're probably really hoping that doesn't happen to more. Um, yeah, so a lot of this stuff has changed, but as long as you can get through the point that this was an exemplary cooperation, which is like pretty easy to get to, then this is either going to be a standard or aggravated case, and they given the number of violations, the length that's happened, the prior failure to monitor on the institution, uh, this not having self-imposed penalties, that means they're getting a postseason ban. I'm extremely confident in a postseason ban. So if those listen to me, you should be extremely confident. And I implore you to do the work yourself because a lot of this stuff is completely out there. Look at their response NOA, look at the language, and go ahead and compare the aggravating factors and mitigating factors yourself and just be honest on both sides. And as long as you come to the conclusion that this is an aggravated level one, taking your passion towards it, they're going to get a postseason ban. So and no one is expecting that from Michigan. Nobody.
Yeah.
I want to
Um.
ask you if you're doing your research, Intrinsic, of all these other schools and what's gone on lately. What do you think will be the final punishment for them? What do you think? I mean, compared to what happened to Memphis, what happened to Arizona State, what happened to Tennessee, where do you think Michigan falls in this? Will this be worse than those guys, punishment wise, or how do you feel about that?
Well, it's obviously worse because if you look at a lot
Sure.
of those cases, they're
Yeah.
not even level ones. You're talking about level twos. Um, I think my prediction and what I know as far as like I don't know anything more than the rest of you guys. I have people who help me, who are who are lawyers and whatnot, but nonetheless is I think I look at the core penalties and I say, okay, they're going to get a 1 to 3 year postseason ban. It's most likely going to be two. It's going to depend on the COI's interpretation of the competitive advantage of the scheme to vacate games. It's not a core penalty, but if they determine there was a competitive advantage, they will vacate games. I do not see them vacating the national championship. I know that's something that whenever I post that, people get really mad at me. But my predictions are they're just as good as your guys when you talk about stuff that's not core penalties because I know they could do upward trajectories on Moores because it's aggravated. They could do upward trajectories on the institutions if they could do a lot here because the evidence is on their side as far as uh the level ones. And also, I mean, if you look at it, they had more recruiting violations. I think we've seen in the Oklahoma State case that they're now looking at tampering to get into players' eligibility. Um, but I
Taking
think we're going to
tests.
be,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think for sure we get the postseason ban. I think we get. I mean, this is just me. I'm guessing vacated games. I do believe we get some. I don't believe we get everything we want. And I think that's going to make people a lot of like really upset. I think they're going to look at the games that they can prove that Stallions was at and had influence over, and they're going to vacate those ones. And then they're going to leave some other ones alone. But that's me guessing. And, I'm just an eyeball on Twitter. You guys can, I mean, but as far as who is going to be more wrong on this? It's going to be Michigan fans because
Practically.
they've been lied to since the beginning, and it's going to be really fun on X. That's all I
Yeah,
know.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually believe it too. Now, I will say I do believe their natty get taken away because it's like, from everything that I've heard, and I do my research. I even check in with the people who have great sources, like those on Scoop. I already know there's gonna be people coming out in the chat talking about Scoop. I already know it's gonna be said, but they've been so right on this just as much as Spiro and just as much as you. But I do think it makes more sense for them to take the natty because, first of all, that's what the Michigan people value. And that's what Michigan values because they fight so hard tooth and nail to keep that for what reason? Because it's their biggest prize. So if you're the NCAA, why would we not take your natty? Especially because, let's be realistic, your cheating scandal continued all the way to 23. Even though you didn't have Connor Stallions, there was this thing where Connor Stallions gave your cheating sheet to a player, and then there's said to be like there's a chance you pretty much didn't stop even after he got left. And not only that, but it's like you were still cheating for most of 23, and if there's a chance you didn't stop even after that, what would stop them from taking your natty? Because there's a good chance you'll probably lose that because you aren't eligible to make the postseason if they take away most of your games. You wouldn't be able to make the playoffs if they take away, even just say they just took away the first, say, 5, 6, 7 games, maybe. You wouldn't be eligible at all. Even if they just took away 5, you're not eligible to get in. So I think they do take their natty because A, they value that. B, it would actually make more sense because if 2023, even if we take 5 games away, which I think they'll take the entire season, you're not going to be able to keep it because, first of all, you didn't earn it. You literally had got through that entire season where it's questionable whether or not you still even won it fairly, even after he got fired, especially with all the latest evidence that started coming out. So I think they
People,
will take. I think they will take their natty because it's something that they prize. It's their prize position. Like, they care about their wins and their natty even more than the postseason bans. And if you take those away from them, they're gonna be in shambles at that point. That's what you have to do at that point.
I mean, here's the funny part is, I mean, I completely agree with you. I would argue I am one of the biggest Michigan haters possible. I believe as soon as you vacate any of those games, it should vacate the entire season.
Yes.
No
Mm-hmm.
game is free. Not any game is free. I've been watching college football for a long time. So have you guys. Michigan has lost to Toledo when they shouldn't. They have
Yeah.
lost to App State when they shouldn't. And the biggest thing is Jim Harbaugh felt he needed to cheat to beat cupcakes. What type of coaching malpractice is on him where he is cheating against these bad teams? Like, what he that school, but yeah, as soon as they touch a game, here's the thing. The whole thing's tainted.
Exactly.
As soon as they touch any game, it's tainted. So if they vacate games, the whole thing's tainted. I mean, it's
Yeah.
tainted anyways. It's tainted anyways right now, for what it's worth. But it's going to be tainted. I'm in this weird position right now where we're close to it. So I'm trying to basically I'm working with a very good compliance lawyer. I'm not going to go too much into him, but
Okay.
anyways, and so I'm just trying to just get everyone. I'm trying to be as most accurate as I can be. But as far as if you want to talk about stuff that what should happen, there should be a death penalty case. You should be looking at uh, third party monitoring of the compliance department. They should not only make them fix their compliance department, they should have someone oversee. And that might happen anyways, by the way, because a lot of this is compliance issues. They should, uh, yeah, I mean, because the people are still there. Why Sharon Moore, and Ward Manuel are still there? Are you kidding me?
I was
Like
Ward
they
Manuel still there after all the stuff that's happened, and
Mm-hmm.
not just the football program, but look at basketball, all the athletics. I mean, nothing
They
but
had a lot of scandals going on in there,
exactly.
like
well,
so many across multiple sports.
Well, in my opinion, Michigan has become a national security threat, a
Yep.
cybersecurity threat.
Yep.
They have issues going on now with their funding as far as ties they're not reporting with foreign governments. They had a
Mm-hmm.
bioweapons lab. Okay, allegedly. All this stuff's allegedly. They had a bioweapons lab. How do you have a bioweapons lab on your campus? I mean, it's literally like as soon as I think, hey, I can stop posting about these guys,
They come up
something
with more.
comes up. Like I
Something
literally look
else.
bioweapons lab. Are you kidding me? And then yeah,
The
but Ward.
FBI needs an office. The FBI needs a permanent office in Ann Arbor, basically.
They basically have one. I mean, here's the thing that gets me is if you look at the timeline on the Matt Weiss stuff. Okay, we don't know exactly when everybody knew what and when, but we do know they took a minute to report it to the police because someone came forward on the 21st through the 23rd, right? I get lawyers and they have their lawsuits and sometimes they ask for a lot more. But the
Mhm.
crazy part about the Matt White case is they were supposed to be monitoring him too. They were supposed to, you see how they weren't
Mm-hmm.
monitoring anybody?
Yeah.
Nope.
And the NCAA knows that. So yeah, the school and so Ward Manual, right? You're in charge. Okay, so like their basketball program seems to be in compliance. All their other sports seem to be in compliance. What's going on with the football, right? Why is the football this bad? And
Well, the biggest reason why there's other sports seem to be in compliance is because they just let those coaches' contracts run out, so they didn't have to deal with them later. Still kept that under the
uh,
wraps.
well, yeah, you have Juwan Howard,
Punching people.
assaulting
Yeah,
another coach,
they never,
and
they never, they never fired him. They said we fired him because he didn't win enough games. So what you're basically telling me is, you don't care if Jawan Howard punches a coach or beats on another coach or even beats on a kid. You don't care. As long as you're winning, you don't care what that man does. It's like, y'all a sad organization.
but yeah, if you look at the school though, I mean, just ignoring. I mean, Michigan fans, it doesn't matter what you say to them. They're going to say, "Oh, I had no competitive advantage. Everybody does it." Blah blah blah. And it's
Why did
not
you spend
Right,
true.
all that money on
But
it then? And why'd you keep
right.
yeah,
doing it?
Why would you
and
keep
and
doing it?
and Blake Corum was ineligible. He was ineligible.
Now
And
you
Now
that's
got
the
another
that
reason.
wrong.
NCC,
That's another reason why I think they'll
yeah,
get vacated. Why their title will get vacated, because apparently the NCAA have been investigating the whole thing with Connor Stallions and the Blake Corum, their whole little establishment on the side, their LLC business, and apparently they have found some evidence regarding that too. And it's like, it was kind of funny. And while I was doing it too, while we were talking, that the NCAA since 2018 has vacated, I think, 18 national championships.
yeah.
18 or 20s. They vacated
They,
like a lot of natties.
So they could recommend. So what would happen? Technically, the process would be they would vacate the games, and then they would recommend to
CFP.
the CFP committee to vacate that game, and then generally the CFP committee then follows the recommendation of the NCAA
Yeah,
and all that stuff. I mean, as soon as if they touch a game in 23, I don't know how they can let the title stand.
I think they
I
will.
just I just see a world like where they just vacate these games and they don't get into all that because they're going to say that their main goal is to get Michigan back in compliance. And to do that, they're going to do all these things, including postseason bans. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're looking forward, that really screws Michigan. A 2-year postseason ban. I'm telling you, Bryce Underwood's going to leave.
Gone.
There's a 2-year
Oh, we all know he
post.
gonna leave.
He's going to
Everybody gonna
leave.
leave.
People are
Everybody
like,
is.
you're trolling, Intrinsic, you're trolling. I'm like, listen, I have James Yoder here saying, if I'm Bryce Underwood and we get a postseason ban, I'm gonna look out for myself and leave. That's when I posted that Yoder saying that. All of a sudden
Mm.
they hate Yoder. What? Now you guys
Um,
hate Yoder. He's just telling the facts. He's just
Yeah.
telling the facts. And I mean, could you imagine like if you're a player and you're good, okay, you're good you want to be featured in the postseason. And I would say,
mm-hmm.
hey, don't go to Michigan because for one, they barely make it anyways, right? But outside of that, if you even have a chance at playing in the postseason, like a lot of these big plays that we've seen from Ohio State. I mean, when you see Trey Henderson breaking off these huge explosive plays, the scouts all see that. Everyone's watching the CFP. They're
Yeah.
watching that tournament. And you want to be featured in that. That's going to make you
Mm-hmm.
money. Now, you're going to have some players, and I think they front loaded a lot of these contracts with Michigan. And you're gonna have some players that are like, I already believe they're paying them more for one, because they clearly paid over market value for Justice Haynes, who was told he would be the third string running back at Alabama. And they paid him $1.2 million. It's just ask
Bro,
Al. You
and
guys
it's
you guys
like
talk with Alabama fans. Ask him. He was told he'd be the RB3, and so they paid him 1.2 million. So
from
at least
everything I understand, like he was not good at Bama that much. He really wasn't.
I believe he was a really good prospect. I know of the Alabama fans I talked to, they like him. I think he's a high upstanding character guy, whatnot. Uh, but yeah,
I'm
he
talking about his
was
play
gonna
on
be
the
their.
field.
Yeah, yeah. His play on the field wasn't any good. He was told he was gonna be the third string running back, and he went to the highest bidder, and that was Michigan. And the one thing I believe Michigan's doing is they're throwing so much money at their football program because they are embarrassed by this all.
Yep.
They are
Hmm.
embarrassed by what happened. As a college football community, nobody respects Michigan. Nobody. Because
Nope.
not any of their fans have ever. I said from the very beginning, if I am a Michigan fan, if you want to shut someone like Intrinsic up, say, yeah, we cheated, but we won the natty. It was worth it. Because at the point, okay, at least you're admitting it, and you're admitting it was worth it. Okay?
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is they're facing a whole lot of problems because of it. And that's part of what it takes to be a Michigan fan. It takes this arrogance, this insecurity that you can't even
Ignorant.
admit to basic facts. Like it's not
Nope.
stallions on the sideline. We didn't cheat. Everybody does it. They start all these things that they keep spinning and rotating back to. It's like you guys are so insecure about
Delusional.
it, they're insecure though. That's my point. They're very insecure. You talk to people, and as a Michigan State fan, I grew up with these people. You know, I live in Michigan. I know
Sorry.
who they are. And yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's a beautiful state, just not Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's boring for one. It's
It's a
extremely
bum.
boring.
It's a bum city. It's a bum of a
Yeah,
city.
it's very boring. Like, believe me, these kids who are there, they're leaving. Like Bryce Underwood posts a thing. He's leaving. Everywhere he's at doesn't seem to be in Ann Arbor because there's nothing to
Nope.
do there. There's literally
Because
nothing to do there.
I mean, he crapped on that team too. Like he crapped on the city, crapped on their team, and said, "Hey, they don't know how to develop quarterbacks." So like, for all these Michigan fans who want to act like he's still going to be there, it's like, no, dude. The reason he's there is because you're paying him $12 to $15 million. If y'all weren't paying him that money, he wouldn't be there. But because you're going to have penalties and potentially postseason bans, he's up out of there. And
Yeah, so
what really made me laugh is like, hold on a minute. Y'all had the nerve to talk about Ohio State spending money on players that have already been there since day one. Talk about we just pay players and we don't buy and y'all talk about, oh, we're Michigan, we don't buy a roster, then you go ahead and buy a kid and Bryce Underwood who absolutely hates you. So like you are nothing more than a bunch of double
Hypocrite.
standarding hypocrites and a bunch of imbeciles at that, especially because I had to listen to the Bozo Brigade before Sean. I saw their video and I was like, y'all really took the Tony Petitti letter completely out of context, didn't you? Like, y'all are just delusional at this point. It's like with Michigan fans, I'm like, we're tired of telling y'all. We're tired of telling y'all. Like, at some point, we're just going to shut up and just let y'all suffer. Because when it hits, you're going to be whining and crying, and you're going to be dealing with Michigan State fans, Ohio State fans, Bama fans, Georgia fans, fans across the country, crapping on your program, crapping on you, and making fun of you. And guess what? A lot of y'all are not going to be on YouTube for a while. You're probably going to have, like, maybe one show at the utmost, and that might be Jerry's show.
well, and one thing I know about the Michigan fan is they're gonna believe whatever they're told. It functions like a cult. If you really
They
look at
are
it,
a
they
cult.
have
They are.
all it is the like it is like I said, national security threat. They are a cybersecurity threat, and their fan base is mostly consisted of a cult. And so so a lot of what I do at X, I take videos of these Michigan fans saying stuff and I just put it out there like this is what they're saying, and it's so ridiculous. Like, okay, so them celebrating Petiti's letter, none of them looked to see if that was standard procedure. When they were told it was standard procedure, they still were like, oh, this means nothing, we're completely vindicated. And the
No, you're
reason
not.
why the reason why it's so funny is because they have been nothing but trashed for years over this, and they finally get a letter from Petiti that is standard, but they finally get it, and it's
even though
like,
that happened
see,
like even though
they're
that happened like in May and June, where Petiti had basically was saying like this is standard procedure and I want the penalties to hurry up and come because we're 2 seasons into this and we don't want this. And y'all have been sitting on this letter for how many weeks? And
But
you
he
just not
won.
coming out of this?
Well,
Like,
well, well,
are
bro,
y'all
bro,
Michigan fans?
Ohio.
Jesus.
Well, Bro Ohio had it because I remember seeing this kind of went on Twitter and Bro Ohio posted on like the middle of June. It got leaked to him, so you know they've had it for a very long time. But the funny thing is, it literally took a day for it to be debunked. Literally a day. So they only had one day to feel good about themselves. And even people who I respect who are Michigan fans were celebrating this thing like crazy. And it's like you all and everyone was getting so mad at Petiti. And I'm like, the other conference membership institutions, they're indifferent. They know this is procedure. Like, what
Yeah.
do you expect this guy to do? He's looking out for the Big Ten. Like, it has nothing to do with his view on it. He took unprecedented actions. Have you ever seen where they told my school, Michigan State, they told them you don't
You
have
don't
to
have to
play a
play.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You don't
right.
have
Like
to
they've never done
play.
that, and no one's ever done that. That's ridiculous. And think about it: the NCAA also filled in the Big Ten in the middle of the investigation. Something else they've never done before. They never went to a conference and told them all about the scandal and gave them details and got involved ahead of time. You've never seen a commissioner go to a team and say, "Hey, you don't have to play this game. You know this might be too dangerous for you. You're free to cancel this game. You won't be given a loss for it. Like you're free of that." When have you ever
Yeah,
seen that?
I've never seen it. I don't. I believe if it's happened before, someone would have found it by now for sure. Um, I mean, he took unprecedented actions, and I believe he gave him the exact max that he could give
They
them,
could,
which was
yeah.
the 3 games.
Yeah.
Now, what he made a mistake, I will say, is he should not have he should not have let Harbaugh
Coach during the week.
practice with the team. He could be up there
Coach
right
like
until
like
kickoff.
practice like he should not be there to like practice with that team like draw plays and stuff like make Shaun Shrock actually show he can be that coach.
Urban Meyer wasn't allowed to be there when he was suspended for those 4 games.
And
His
you
last
saw
game.
Urban,
Yeah,
and then guess what? You saw Ryan Day, and that's what led to him being our head coach. That man could coach ball. He was not allowed to be at the practice. Urban Meyer wasn't. He was not allowed to be there with the team, and Ryan Day had to take over as a head coach. And that told us right then and there, Ryan Day was going to be the next head coach of Ohio State. That's what told Urban, and that's what told Gene Smith. Whereas with Sharon, it's like, dude, you had Jim Harbaugh there. Like the reality is, man, the thing is, it should have never been a thing. And now the NCAA, and that made the NCAA enforce rules where it's like now, if a coach has been suspended as many times as Harbaugh has been in the season, you are not allowed to coach. You are not allowed to be a part of practice, if I'm not mistaken. Like
yeah.
you can't coach at all. You're just gonna sit at home.
And you see that with the self-imposed here for more. You see that. And the thing is Michigan really should have basically they should have self-imposed Harbaugh during that season. I mean, if they were to handle this the way it should have been handled, now we're looking at sanctions, they should have investigated it and started putting these guys because Stallions has admitted basically he works closely with Denard. You've seen a lot of these videos. He's with Denard. You're trying to tell me that they didn't continue cheating the rest of that season? They had all that illegal information, right? That
Exactly.
illegally stole. They had
Right.
that. Like and not to mention, I believe it was on your guys' show or an affiliated show. Spiro went over to basically the empire that was built on cheating.
Yep.
People don't get
Yeah.
into that. Like people stayed extra years because of it, and I'm under the assumption the players knew. They had to know.
No,
Like
no
Oh,
you
they
doubt.
knew.
see,
Dude,
and
JJ
so
McCarthy basically said that in an interview. Whether he knew
you're
it or not,
right.
he buried Michigan without ever knowing it. Because you basically just told the NCAA the players knew, you knew, and you were trying to make it sound like as if it was legit when it really wasn't, bro. You basically just buried yourself in the program and your teammates.
And that's why I went. That's why. I mean, this is one of my tweets that blew up. It was a TCU game because I started really pressing and I broke it down. I'm like, he had a 1.2% turnover rate. It was 1.2 or 1.8. He had the lowest turnover rate in Michigan history. And then TCU baits them with dummy signals, and he throws
Mm-hmm.
multiple pick sixes. And in one of the clips I had, literally, they're like, he has the lowest turnover rate. He takes care of the ball. And then he throws two pick sixes. They end up scoring like there's dang near 100 points in that game. That was a top four defense in every statistical category, and they gave up to a not that good TCU team 51 or 52 points or whatever it was. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And so these players were made to look better, and that's something I'm going to continue to cover is them flopping in the NFL
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. I've been talking about that so much.
yeah, if you see, I have a chart on it. Unfortunately, we can't bring this up,
Ooh, send
but
that to
they're
Shaun.
busting like
Send that to
yeah.
Shaun so he can send that to me. So that way, the next time him and I go over this, we can literally showcase it on our show. I don't care if the Michigan fans feeling their feelings. Yeah, I'm gonna make you feel in your feelings.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I will definitely show it because that's something that I like. For instance, it's kind of funny. Mike Sanders show, right? He's like, next time, he's like, we got to find out why you talk about me so much. It's because I'm looking at Mike Sanders show, who, by the way, I don't have labeled as a bust because he started, but he's like past 90th in every advanced statistical category. And Michigan fans would be like, well, he had a good game versus the Lions, and he did have a good
One,
game versus the Lions, but it's
one.
one
One,
game.
Yeah.
But
one.
everybody's wide open when they go after him. He's like targeted more than like any corner. Like I said, he's above 90th, and you got to think about how many defensive backs are on the field. He's over 90th in like every statistical category. And that's why I think I got on his nerves because I just kept posting his terrible advanced statistics. But if you look at the bust rate, I mean Roman Wilson, it's obviously something we got to monitor because you got to give these guys some
Yeah.
time, right? But
Agreed.
Mhm.
but almost everyone is busted from that class. Like their best player is probably who AJ Barner, maybe like Junior Colson. It's like these are Barner is a backup. They just drafted a tight end one. They drafted one in the second round. Like they've done so many things to replace Sainer still, uh, including overpaying for Lattimore, drafting multiple guys. Right, like they're showing like these players are busted, and I'm really surprised the NFL missed how much these players' game was elevated through cheating.
Yeah.
It really was elevated, especially in positions where knowledge matters more. Like they'll be like, "Well,
Yes.
Hutchinson, he's not a bust. Hutchinson's not a bust," and it's like, "Well,
He's
he's a
been there
defensive
since
line, but he's not."
2000. He's been there since 2019 and was already a good player. The rest of their D linemen since then have been absolute garbage in the NFL. You have to hope that Mason Grant and Kenneth Grant ain't that, but if they are, it basically just proves another point.
Yeah, so Chris Jenkins. Okay, so I go through here. Like these are their selections, right? And I'm going from top. So JJ McCarthy, he completely busted your run because he couldn't even make it through a preseason game. Plus, you see a bunch of stuff from Minnesota where they're not completely confident in him, but he has probably the best situation. He's got one of the best wide receiving cores. But anyways, regardless, we'll just say okay. We'll say JJ McCarthy. We'll see he busted year one. Chris Jenkins, he's not even a starter, so. I'm not calling him a boss, but he's a rotational player. And when I believe the Bengals named when the Bengals named like their cool standout rookies, they did not mention his name, by the way. Sanders still,
You
I'm
mean the
giving him the
Browns?
benefit of the doubt.
No, he's
Uh,
with the
he's
He's
with
with
the
the
Bengals,
Bengals?
I believe. Yeah,
yeah.
he's with the
Oh, I
Yeah,
Bengals.
thought. Oh man, I thought he was with the Browns.
Yeah,
Zinter's with the Browns, and he's been horrible.
yeah.
Oh no, that I know.
Zinter's a boss. Roman Wilson, I'm calling him a boss. He completely couldn't stay healthy, and they brought in DK Metcalf. They've been trying to replace this guy. Like we'll see if Tyler Boyd ends up there. Blake Corum busted because he couldn't beat a fifth round Kyron Williams. He was actually battling. So Blake Corum's a funny one because he could barely beat out Ronnie Rivers from Fresno State, who wasn't even drafted. He barely beat him out, and even with then, they didn't even trust him with that many touches. If you look at
Oh,
Kenneth,
bro. I'm telling you right
yeah.
now, if you saw Blake Corum, you would have known that man was not no NFL running back. And trust me, I know for the fact the Rams were gonna taking that man in round 3. They really do.
Well, the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
is, you got freaking Michigan. You had some Michigan yahoos on X trying to compare him and say he was better than Eddie George, and they're putting up the current. I'm just like, he's not in the same level as Eddie George. I
Right.
mean, this is
And,
the
and George is
delusional
a
stuff
Hall
that
of
they got.
Fame. This dude is a legend in the NFL. He's one of the great running backs too. Like, no, bro, he's not.
yeah.
He's not Eddie George. And like, the only reason he was any good was because of the scandal. I think we all can admit this at this point. Like, you could
But
play, but because if you compare Blake Corum to some of the best running backs in Ohio State history, he's not even in their league. I'm sorry.
No,
well,
There's no,
I tried saying this. I go, one thing that Michigan did have, they had one of the best offensive lines that helped him. Okay. So if you looked at his yards before contact, he had a lot of yards before contact. So he wasn't getting touched a lot. But when he did get touched, his yards after contact was extremely low, which to me was
Hmm.
a bad sign on him.
That should have
And
told you.
so anyways, and they drafted Jarquez Hunter, and the coach said we need some explosiveness. So they clearly busted on Corum. He's probably just a backup in the league, which is completely insane to compare him to Eddie George. But Kenneth Walker is they're like, oh, he's like Kenneth Walker. No, he's not. Kenneth
Oh,
Walker had 1,000 yards
No,
his first
heck
season.
no.
Sure, he can't stay
Heck no.
healthy. Sure,
yeah.
he has problems staying healthy, but he had 1,000 yards his first season, and he didn't even
And he's
start
still
the
a good
season.
running back. He's still a good running back in the NFL, even with the injuries. This is that he needs to stay healthy.
But Roman Wilson busted. Zach Zinter busted. Barner, okay, he was a fourth round. He's backup. I think it's cool to call him not a bust. Okay. Um, Trevor Keegan or whatever, he busted. Michael Barrett busted. Ladarius, somebody else busted. I don't have the full name. Cornelius Johnson busted. He's bouncing around like all these guys. Jalen, somebody
Muzzie
busted.
Smith.
Mozzie
Yeah,
Smith's horrible. Oh my
oh,
god.
Mozzie Smith has the worst. Yeah, Mozzie Smith, first round bust. So
Well,
yeah,
Taco
these
Charlton was huge. I mean, him and Taco Charlton. Who's worse? I mean, bigger bust, Taco Charlton or Mozzie Smith? I mean,
Oh, there are also two other like defensive backs, like along with Chris Jenkins on that Bengals team is two other Michigan players, two DBs. Dax Hill, and then there's another one, and they both suck.
yeah. So these guys are busting in NFL, and the only positions that I give Leroy to, because I mean, if you're like a defensive lineman, at the end of the day, like whether you know the play or not, you still gotta like do your move, get by the guy,
Well, here's what I
and
will say about that is if you're getting the training that you need to do that, because we do know Michigan was doing that. And the best part about the D line is you ain't got to think if it's a run or a pass. If you know it's a run, I don't even
oh
got to
yeah.
worry about pass rushing. If it's a pass, I ain't got to worry about stopping the run. I'm just going to go straight after the quarterback. While, yes, they start to get through to them, get through to the players, it still makes it that much easier because on D line, you still have to think, is this going to be a run or is this going to be a pass? Is it a run or a pass? Which one is it?
Well,
You still have to know.
I had a funny one on on Hutchinson. There was a play where it was like a play action pass, and Hutchinson goes straight to the quarterback. I mean, didn't even look at
Hmm.
the didn't even look at it was against Wisconsin. But anyways, he didn't even look. But so yeah, there's definitely advantages to the lineman knowing that I can go for a pass rush or go for a run stopping like gap
without.
filling assignment. But for players like Sainer still who literally got drafted because of his game sense, I
Yeah.
laugh at that. His game sense was literally knowing the plays. Like, could you think of
Yeah,
like game sense? I feel bad for the Commanders fans who have to deal with Sanders still. But
yeah.
honestly, he seems like a funny guy to deal with because he's nice to me. I haven't been attacking him lately. Uh but anyways, so yeah, most of that class, which is supposedly the best class ever, is looking like a complete wash. I mean, Baby Junior Colson can be a decent linebacker in the league, maybe, and he's JJ McCarthy. We'll see, but if JJ McCarthy busts,
Bro, JJ
they're going
McCarthy, I
to.
think he's a full on bust. He can't read the defense. This dude, when you don't got somebody in your ear telling you exactly what the play is and where to throw the ball, do this and do that, and you got to do it on your own, I think he gonna bust out. I really do. Because when I see the Minnesota Vikings, they really don't like him. They're like, do we really just waste our 10th round pick on this freaking quarterback? Oh man, we
Yeah.
really dropped the ball on that one. And on top of that too, like with the D lineman, you could really tell how much the cheating helped you because now that you're in the NFL, you're getting pushed off the line of scrimmage like you're a jock, like you're just a jockey, like you're just a water boy. That's how you getting pushed around the field. I watch Mozzie Smith in the NFL and how often this dude gets pushed off the line of scrimmage and put on his back is so funny. I'm like, and I see that with Chris Jenkins. I see that with a lot of their D linemen in the NFL. I even see that with their offensive linemen. It's like, wait a minute, y'all were this good in college, right? But then when you come to the NFL, you getting put on your back like no tomorrow. And yet, y'all Michigan fans brag about your trenches, but yet your trench players suck in the NFL, and they're not even anywhere near as good as Ohio State's when they have this whole debate. Because it's like, I actually checked this up. Ohio State has the most offensive and defensive linemen starting in the NFL, and a lot of their O linemen and their D linemen are some of the highest paid. Compared to your offensive and D linemen, you only have one good D lineman, which is Adrian Hutchinson, And the only offensive lineman that's even been solid is Graham Glasgow. And that dude was in Michigan like how many years ago?
Yeah, it
And
seems a while ago.
He's not even that great, but he's solid enough. He's serviceable, is what I'll say. Those are the only two good ones you got. Everybody else on your team has absolutely sucked. And don't forget, I even mentioned this too, Intrinsic, that Michigan, when their team in 2023 that got drafted, you had 8 players that got cut the same year they were drafted in training camp because of how bad they were. And Michigan became the first program in history to have players cut the same year they were drafted. And it's before the season ever even starts. So imagine just how bad your players got to be for them to get cut.
But this just goes to the point, though. That's why they stayed. That's why they stayed. These are not. It's a mid-major school, right? And the players knew that they could boost their draft stock by knowing the plays. I mean, you can make if you're someone and you know where that play is going, you can sure look a lot better than if you don't.
Exactly.
So, and I think that goes to the point where if they need to vacate these games, they were literally cheating in these games. And the whole college football knows that. I think that guy who's Mad Dog or whatever, I've took a video of him way back in the day, and he literally said, "Why are you doing it? Like, if it doesn't matter, why are you going to
Exactly.
these edges to take these lengths in these games?
Mhm.
Why?"
Why
And
are
he
you
goes,
paying
"You guys
so much
like to
money?
yeah, you guys like to pride yourself. We're the great Michigan. We're this Ivy League of the Midwest or whatever."
No, you're
And
not.
here you are, literally cheating and covering up, instructing players not to cooperate. Like how the NCAA doesn't have subpoena power to turn witnesses, and obviously they can't put eavesdropping devices to get everything, but they do have Stallions' master spreadsheet,
The FBI
which
could.
basically, yeah, but the FBI is not going to care about their football team.
Oh no, I know
Uh,
they're not, but that's what. But remember, that's what actually let the NCAA know is the fact that U.S. Integrity and the FBI were investigating Michigan, and when they found that scandal, they went straight to the NCAA about it, and they were even helping out too. Even though they really don't care about it, they still were helping out.
are you mean to tell me it wasn't Ryan Day's brother?
No, just go talk to Isaiah Hole, that freaking idiot.
Right. Go
Well,
talk.
no,
All these
so
Michigan
so
fans are idiots.
that's another thing, and like I said, I'm very fortunate on X because I have a lot of people that allow me to do what I do. And if any of them are listening, thank you guys. You know who you are. But yeah, they still believe it's Ryan Day's brother. And they are Chris Blas has been stoking the flames of that as recently, I believe it was like 2 months ago. And if you actually look who Chris Balas's source is on that, it's Uncle T. It's Uncle T. Uncle T is the one who he's claimed to have hired a private investigator, and he has the goods. He has the goods. And Chris Balas still has that article up there that that basically accuses Ryan Day's brother of committing what they call
Treason.
Rico. And see, this is to me, that's sinister. This
Even
is
though that's
that
been
that's sinister
completely
because
debunked.
it's been
That's
there's no proof, and that's what I said. I said post the proof.
Exactly.
If you had it,
right.
what you really think they would wait this long? There's no proof, and it's just a ridiculous thing to say because
It
to
was
me it just makes
you
you.
know what's super funny is the whole thing with Ryan Day's brother was a joke that was thrown out there to test to see if the Michigan fans were dumb enough to buy it, and they were. Them and their dumb media were dumb enough to buy it, and they still talk about it, even though the FBI said that wasn't true, and the Big Ten commissioner said that wasn't true, and the NCAA said that wasn't true. Everybody said that wasn't true, and they're still buying this nonsense. It's like,
Well, the funny thing is so Isaiah Hole called this whole thing a psyop, literally like 2 weeks ago. I posted a video on that. He literally called it a psyop. He's like, "This is a psyop to take down Harbaugh because they didn't like Harbaugh." And then and this was after because Stallions, whatever, that Sonny Dykes said something, and I know Stallion sees my post. I know he does. because my Sonny Dyke stuff like really blew up. Um, but anyways, the Sonny Dykes one is so he calls and Isaiah Hole admits this, and it don't ever watch his videos. It's terrible that I have to do that for you guys. But he literally says, Connor called me and he like celebrated. He celebrated his crash out on that Brett McMurphy post. So like literally Isaiah Hole, who claims like, oh, for one thing, he claimed that there would be no vacated games and no postseason ban, right? And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden he goes, "There's a 99.9% chance there won't be a postseason ban." And to me, like that 0.1% is just so telling that you literally like all of a sudden nothing's gonna happen. All of a sudden now it's
Yeah.
0.1%. And his source is
Right.
Connor Stallions, who by the way, Connor is he supposed to be cut off? Too. Like, isn't
Yes.
Connor Stallions supposed to be cut off? And that was
Yes.
another. That was more things. Is they? He's done more. Connor Stallions has done more to hurt this program that I think he realizes. Like when he won't shut up about this case. Like, sure, he's no longer with them anymore, but he's the one that keeps bringing it up.
Keep
He's the
stoking the
one that,
fire.
and he
Yeah.
just and it's just he doesn't care. He doesn't care about Michigan as much as he says he does. Like
He
he
really don't.
literally is hurting them. He's literally hurting them. But he celebrated that, and I don't know that the Michigan beat
A
hasn't done
mess.
it. And the biggest thing in it, I think, a lot of the reason why I'm able to exist and people pay attention to a lot of the posts that I do. And honestly, I'm not the most effective. Spiro's you guys know Spiro's
Yeah, you're
wonderful.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, his research is just top notch, and but I definitely can go a little harder in Spiro than some ways because I'm able to do that because it's just me. But anyways, if you look at, sorry, I forgot where I was going.
You're good.
Uh just had a brain lapse.
There is one
Oh,
thing I want to ask
welcome to
you.
my world. Welcome
There's
to
one
my
thing
Yeah.
I
world.
do want to ask you, Intrinsic. The Blake Corum situation with the LLC. Do you think that they rule him uneligible?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
don't. I think I th- I believe the NCAA is going to get it right with these sanctions. And the only one that could open up, and some people say it's not going to open up, is the Matt Weiss stuff. I think that they failed to monitor Matt Weiss. Now, the NCAA does
Mhm.
not have purview over legal matters. That was over like criminal matters, and that had to do with the Matt Weiss stuff. But they did. I mean, sorry, that had to do with the Penn State stuff. Uh, but they do have the ability to, if they were not monitoring Matt Weiss, so that could be another institutional problem for them to failure to monitor Matt Weiss. And so
If
that's why I believe Michigan's going to have to weigh paying this massive settlement versus letting, these team of class action lawyers who will be able to subpoena evidence to find
Mhm.
out who knew what and when. Because I think there's a lot more to that Matt Weiss story, and at the bottom line, that's actually a sad and sickening story.
Mhm.
Yes.
There's real victims out there who probably live in
I
fear that their
I
stuff's gonna be
always
on the
say
internet.
I always say that this is worse because as much as people don't think so, I say it's worse than the Jerry Sandusky scandal for this one reason. The university was in on this whole thing. Because the thing is, I've actually read up on stories about it, and you have Jim Harbaugh, Santa Ono, and a War Manual named in these lawsuits as people who knew this was going on but still let him coach, regardless of the fact. And it's like that's the worst part about this is I know with the Penn State stuff, it legitimately ended up with children getting touched. Eventually, that would happen with Weiss because I think he's that sickening of a human being. But with Penn State, their board, their people did not know. The school never knew. If they knew that that was what's going on, they would have fired him years ago because they would have put the kids first. But they never knew about that until stories started coming out. And for Michigan, you knew the Matt Weiss stuff was happening. You still let this dude coach. If this
Yeah,
like if everything about that is absolutely true, this scandal is worse than the Sandusky one because the university was in on the cover up, and it wouldn't be their first time because if you go through their history, they've been coming up a lot of scandals that that are very similar to the Sandusky one actually. Like the one with Bo Schambeckler, with the doctor with Bo Schambeckler. Remember the running back John Vaughn, Sean, that you sent me the video of, where he was talking about that. He was also there are also other countless cases of the same way, which I would deem that they're little intimate assault type of things that happen with minors is so much worse than Penn State's, because the university was literally in on the cover up. No one knew about it because they just buried it. And that's why people like myself and Sean and Buckeye Scoop and others cover it, because if no one, because the national media really doesn't cover this. If we don't cover it, if we don't go after it, you, Spiro, all of us, if none of us talk about it, it's just going to disappear. That's why people cover it as much as they do, because it would have just disappeared the same way all their other scandals have.
Well, see, the thing that I'm not willing to do, like, okay, so TJ, I agree with your emotion towards it because it's sick. But if you look at comparing, whether this one was worse than the other one, they're all bad. They're all
No, they're
bad.
all
But
bad. I
your
just think
argument with the institution, we need to find out, and there needs to be
yeah,
pressure
that's what I'm saying.
to find out.
If there's truth to it, then this definitely makes it worse. Because to me, if you're a university that was in on the cover up, now you've been on, like I said, there is evidence that they've been involved in previous cover ups, especially with former Michigan players who have been victims of that stuff, have come out and talked about it in the past from different regimes that have taken over. But with this regime, if you were literally knowing of the Matt Weiss scandal and you still let this dude coach, you are every bit as you like. This scandal is so much every bit as bad as all the others, but it's so much worse when you have a program that literally allows it to continue happening. That's what makes it worse to me. So if it's true, I'm not giving you guys any, and I mean this when I say this, any mercy, because that is sick that your university is in on cover-ups.
Well, the thing that we know, and this is why the Wii story, it's so easy to see them having been letting him coach that game. It's so easy to come to that conclusion just from like on its face value because the culture under Jim Harbaugh
Yeah.
was to basically cheat, go up to the line and cross it, right? There's that famous
Mm-hmm.
quote. And like he wasn't monitoring anybody, right? And in it's not just him. Like the institution wasn't monitoring Matt Weiss's activity. Like he was doing this stuff in Schembechler Hall, and when they raided, so some of this stuff is what upsets me is they were raiding Schembechler Hall. There, I think there was 3 raids. And did you see any reporting on those
No,
raids?
not one.
Like
No, not
they
one.
they hid they and so there was one reporting that his home was raided, and I believe it was on January 10th, I believe it came out, and it was like the Detroit News has done a good job on some of the stuff, but none of the Michigan Beat talked about those other raids. Like, I don't know, FBI agents going through Schembechler Hall seems like something you should say happened. Like, especially like, and another thing that the university is being accused of doing is they didn't notify the victims. And you see these
Mm-mm.
victims interviews where they are literally saying we did not know that our intimate photos were out there until like we got a email from the FBI like saying you were part of a victim of this. Michigan knew there was a breach. We know that. They knew there
Yeah.
was a breach, and the lawyers are saying they didn't notify anybody. And so this to me just goes to an institution that doesn't ever want to take accountability, even when something really bad happens, they don't ever want to just admit that hey, we messed up, we had mistakes here. And I think it goes to the culture of what a Michigan man really is. Like, these people never take accountability for when something happens. They never just and so hopefully with the NCAA, I'm sure they're keeping an eye on it, and they'll know what comes of this. But the lawyer's case, I think, is going to be something to really follow, because if it does come out that Harbaugh knew prior to that TCU game, as like the amended lawsuits have said, then that is a big story. And I will say the national media did pick up on that. I posted every nightly news show that's out there covered that he was added. And I thought that was notable that they finally said, hey, like the Chargers head coach may have known allegedly and still let this guy coach. But if you look at a lot of the stuff that happened under Harbaugh, I mean, he hid he hid a felony gun charge with Mozzie Smith so he could play. I'm sorry, you don't hide a felony gun
No.
charge. That's something you should get fired over right there. And but anyways, so he hides a felony gun charge. He then lies to the NCAA, repeatedly lies. When they talk about, oh, it's just a cheeseburger. No, he repeatedly lied. That's why he got in so much trouble because he kept
Yes.
lying. They literally showed him the evidence that you were at these meetings, that here's the parents of the recruits saying you were there, here's the receipts that you were there, and he said, nope, I would unequivocally no. He's just sitting there lying,
He
covering
doubled
stuff
down on
up,
it.
and it just keeps
Yeah,
happening.
and he double downs on it, and that's what's worse. And that's why I think a lot of people don't believe you when they say, like, when you say you never knew knowledge of this, it's like, dude, you've lied so much to the point where
Yes.
nobody believes you. Like, we all know you knew that this was going on. You knew about all the stuff that was going on in Michigan. In my opinion, you did. Even if they don't find evidence, it's clear based on your history, you knew this stuff was happening, and you just lied and lied and lied. So why would I not believe you didn't know about the Connor Stein stuff? Because you did,
Yeah.
because that's why you hired him. Then you're gonna tell me you didn't know much about the Matt Weiss thing. And what's really funny is Matt Weiss had credentials to your school going back to 2015 before he was ever hired. So, like, what else are you hiding exactly? What else are you lying about? What else have you been involved in?
Yeah, so just to delineate, okay, we have lawsuits alleging that, right? So we don't know between when Weiss was hired and what the connection is to the Ravens. Because how did he have access to databases when he was at the Ravens? And so I believe that there's a lot to this Matt Weiss story, and it's something that, I think the public does have a lot of interest in. Uh, but we don't know anything because it wasn't in the indictment the indictment, it says it went back to 2015. So, and it went between two Harbaugh brothers. John, by all means, he seems to be a great guy and a great coach. He doesn't seem to be anything like his brother.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Harbaugh, you understand, there's a bunch of character concerns going on with Harbaugh for even since he was a player. Um,
Yeah.
he got in fights with like Jim Kelly, like literally punched him or something. Like, anyways, like I just think you're right. When you keep lying and you keep covering up, eventually people are just going to say, hey, you need to prove to us you're not lying this time. I mean, that's just like our common experience as people. If someone's lying to you all the time, eventually you're like, okay, I'm not going to trust you this time. But hopefully, we'll always see because I enjoy football. I enjoy watching the games. I enjoy the rivalry playing against Michigan. That school needs to start playing on the same rules as everybody else. And they need to be, and I believe the only way the NCAA can be sure that they're going to move forward is if you impose penalties on them that forces them to start complying. And I
Yeah.
think that's going to be the statement that the NCAA wants to do. They want Michigan to be playing by the rules. They want them self-reporting. They want them to show accountability when something does happen. They want all those things. And Michigan's still going to be there playing with us, and I'm still going to hate them. But like, why Ward Manuel and why you would still have a coach, why you would choose Moore as his successor when he literally is a part of deleting messages with Jake Costner or with no Jim McElwain, right? He deleted messages and he says it's out of anger. Like he didn't delete those out of anger. Like why anyone should be okay with this is beyond me.
Well, we
Because
talked about it on the show. Like, he apparently had a message in there about meeting the Central Michigan quarterback coach that was the one that gave Connor Stallions the credentials and disguise to get on the sidelines of Central Michigan, which would automatically almost link you into this if you basically meet the very person involved in that whole Central Michigan thing.
yeah, and I believe Spiro has the goods on that one. But yeah,
He does.
on the text messages, we have the text messages leak. It's on the Michigan Insider. One of the text messages is between him and Stallions, and it's setting up a meeting with Jim McElwain, right?
Oh
So
God!
so
Oh no!
and he deleted that. He deleted that. So don't tell me
You
these
know
were,
why?
but the Michigan says these are innocuous text messages. Like this is what I mean. Like, and everyone's okay with that. I think there's people inside of Michigan who are honestly sick of this. who are sick of the win at all costs, throw away our entire reputation to try and win football games,
Yeah.
right? Because I think they're sick of it because and like in Michigan, like they have a great hospital that is a good school as far as education goes.
Mhm.
Like where's the sane voices in the room? Like why did they literally sell their souls for Jim Harbaugh, who got ran out of San Francisco? Like anywhere he goes, he gets ran out of. Like he's gonna get
Oh,
run out of
expect
the
that to
Chargers eventually.
I mean,
expect
screw.
that. Expect that. He's screwed, bro.
I mean, he screwed Michigan over. He walked out. I mean, he didn't go to the NCAA meeting they were supposed to go to, because they said his lawyer told him, "Well, he had to go take his chickens to the beach." Like that's not going to piss the NCAA off. I mean, shows how much you care about your own school. You pillaged their coaching staff, you left them in shambles, and you just go off into the sunset and you don't care.
Yeah, and the Spanos brothers that hired him, they screwed over San Francisco. I believe it's hold on, San Diego. They screwed over San Diego. If you look at it, look into that if you have it. The Spanos brothers own the Chargers. They
Mm-hmm.
screwed over San Diego. So of course, scumbags are going to hire scumbags.
Yeah,
It,
Yeah.
I mean, that's like like I believe it was Dan Dag said, "Dirtbag is gonna dirtbag."
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Partridge was a dirtbag when they hired him. No wonder he turns out to be a dirtbag. Stallions, you hired him. He was a dirtbag. There's stuff that he was trying to do this crap at
A
Navy.
at
mentally
Navy.
insane
Yeah,
dirtbag.
Navy.
like you're hiring dirtbags. You basically and they want to. He basically operated as like a mafia boss. This is how I see it. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
you guys do what you need to do. Just don't tell me about it, and that somehow absolves me from responsibility. And when these
yeah.
NCAA leagues come, yeah, they don't have a wiretap. They weren't able to get Harbaugh's personal phone, right? Like they're not going to be able to say, "Oh, well, here's Harbaugh," but we have him giving him a game ball. We literally
Exactly.
have every
Yeah.
single staff member literally like you
Oh,
never
you know what's
once
funny?
thought
You know what's
why is
funny?
his messages so good? Why are these signs so good? How does he know the exact play? Like your coaching experience hasn't taught you that that's not normal.
You
Like
know what's
get,
funny? Connor Steins is literally on the sideline talking to him, but also when the NCAA asked him for his emails, apparently he had deleted his emails before he handed it over, which I found so funny. I'm like, oh, so you didn't know anything, but yeah, you were deleting your emails. Like, what? What?
well, there's reports that he removed hard drives. So check
Yeah.
this out.
Yeah.
This is I want you to understand. So the FBI is literally raiding your campus. They did three different raids, right? They're in Schembechler Hall. And in that same calendar year, you have Stallions removing hard drives, removing evidence, right? So where is the self-awareness? Like
They don't
Not
know.
not
it,
existent. They don't have it.
it,
They don't.
and yeah, so yeah, this is why I think it's so frustrating to so many people is because at the same time point all this is going over, you have the university president saying that you have literally nobody taking accountability, nobody in Michigan's blue wall taking accountability. They're blaming others. They literally have caused threats to Ryan Day's family, right? Like anybody who uh says anything towards them and post like they'll deny like they even cheated. Like Isaiah Hole was doing that. He literally is saying like it's not clear if anything done was against the
Yeah.
rules. When there's literally your response on OA says you admitted to it. They've admitted to it. So what are you talking about? You admitted to breaking rules. They're just trying to argue that they're not as severe of violations as, but their rules broken. But like you can have one of the main guys. I don't know what goes on that Locked On network.
Oh,
Like they
that's
obviously
horrible,
don't.
man.
Bro,
It's
they're
sad.
Yeah.
locked on. It is horrible. Horrible. Horrible.
We don't even care for the guy
Yeah.
that does the Buckeye one. I mean, he's kind of an idiot too. So
But yeah, so I just hope they can get this stuff going. And but yeah, I think the main thing we've talked about a lot here is looking. I'm just gonna repeat this postseason ban. Do the work on your own. Literally understand this is a level one failure to monitor. They're going to weigh aggravators and mitigators, and if it's aggravated, they are getting a postseason ban. And it's not. I think the NCAA is literally just going to go right off their core penalties, and they're going to give them a postseason ban. And
Mhm.
that is a hammer. That is a hammer. Period. And people deserve the death penalty. I believe they deserve the death
Yes.
penalty, but a
Yes.
postseason ban is very, very bad. So So, yeah, is there anything else you guys want to ask me, or
Well,
any
they
other
probably
questions you have?
the death penalty probably will never come back, but they should get something real close to it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but hopefully, because a lot of these, okay, so when they have a when they institute a core penalty, it cannot be appealed. Just so you guys know that. And the NCAA has won 21 of the last 24 um, cases in court. So that, and one of their cases that they have that's being appealed on NIL is looking good. So they can't appeal the core penalties, and the NCAA is winning a ton of cases regarding NIL. And a lot of people think they're losing. They're not. They've won 21 of the
Oh
last
wow,
24. Yeah.
I did not know that. I did
I
not
know
know
you.
that. It looked like they were
Yeah,
losing a lot of
that's
them.
the
I did
top.
not know that.
They won 21 of the last 24, and one of the three that they have is looking good on appeal. So that NCAA is completely fine if they want to try to go after. But any upward trajectory from the core penalties, like for instance Moore's 4 to 6 games, if they suspend him for an entire season, Michigan can only appeal the difference, right? So like say they suspend him for 12 games, they can only appeal to 6 games. And I I mean, the NCAA, I think, is going to just play this right by the book, and it's going to be a hammer, and it's going to be for stuff that is not as much to do with stallions as like we all are attached to. It's to do with this failure to monitor, which involves stallions. So I just think that's something to keep in mind as we move forward here. So
Hey, buddy, we just want to thank you for coming on. You are more than welcome to come back anytime you want. Before we let you go, I'll give TG a chance to ask you one more question. Please let everybody know where they can find you, man. Plug your stuff, bro.
yeah, I mean, I'm intrinsic value on X. Probably a lot of your listeners, if they're on X, they know me. I'm pretty sure anyone that's
Yeah,
covered this topic knows me on X. So yeah, this is my first time doing a podcast. I
awesome. You
hope
did
hope you
awesome,
guys
man.
enjoyed it. Hope it wasn't too legalistic or whatnot. But yeah, if you guys have any
It's very
questions,
informative.
I
Let's be honest.
my
A lot of them
my
would appreciate it.
yeah, my DMs are open on X. I do get people that ask me questions on there. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM me. Um, but yeah, let's get ready to pop the champagne on this one. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. After it comes down, how about you come back on the show after it comes? After they make the decision, let's do like a recap show, and you come back on, and we'll talk about it.
How about
yeah.
you and Spiro? How about you and Spiro together? just to tick Michigan fans off, just to make it more funny.
But we're gonna be celebrating so much, so it's gonna be a riot because
But that's
I
what's
don't
gonna
believe
make it
anyone's.
fun. The
Yeah, and
tears of the
nobody's
Michigan fans.
prepared. No, nobody's prepared. Like I even see doubt from a lot of these, a lot of people that think there's no way that nothing can happen, and I'm just like, it's literally they're just gonna play it by the book, and that means a postseason ban, guys. Like, there's nothing to worry about here. So, but all right, yeah, thank you for having me on.
No problem.
No
Have a
problem.
great night, brother. Thank you again,
Yeah.
man.
And
Yeah,
not
you're
only that,
welcome.
you should have seen how long we done went on this thing. It's like an hour 30. It's like an hour 38 already.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for giving us your time. And I
yeah.
know, like you say, your DM's open. You've always answered my questions. You've always been cool with me. So I appreciate you. And if you ever want to come on here, and you got information you want to, you want out on podcast level, let us know and we'll get you back on here, bro.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you both for having me. TG, I think you should get on X. Okay, I told Sean that get on X. It's a lot of fun on there. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. You get to go right at the Michigan fans, and you'd be perfect at it. But all right, nice talking to both of you. Y'all have a good evening.
You
You
too.
too.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Everybody like, share, and subscribe. Turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. And as we say on here, Sean, OH.
Ayo!
We out.